Hey guys, welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt. As you can see, we got a new setup here. I've moved to the other side of the room. I've got a new webcam. I've got a new lighting setup, new microphone setup. So I'm hoping that the quality of the videos will continue to improve as I kind of fine-tune what I got going on here. If any of you have any advice on how to better do lighting or audio setup, let me know, because believe it or not, I have zero idea what I'm doing. So I'm kind of just flying by the seat of my pants here, trying to improve the quality and the content of my videos as we come up here on 5,000 subscribers, which is just insane to me. So in this video, I want to talk about 5 tips for brand new Dungeon Masters. With D&D 5th edition in full swing here, I'm getting a lot of messages from people who are just getting into the hobby and want to know some really basic advice on how to start out as a dungeon master, how to run your own game. And I kind of started thinking about my channel and the content on my channel, and I realized I really don't have anything for someone who's coming at it completely blank slate, has no idea what they're doing, is maybe picking up a starter set and that's what they're working with. So this is just 5 really basic tips that I'm going to give you here about running a game and making a game your own, and really sort of putting yourself and your passion into your Dungeons and Dragons game. The first tip I'm going to give is engage your players. I see a lot of new DMs and even veteran DMs sit there and rattle off a description of a creature or a location from behind their DM screen, like they're giving a middle school speech or something. You know, they sit there with their module and they say, "The room is made of stone. It is 15 feet wide with a 10-foot high ceiling." Don't just rattle off the pre-written descriptions. Know the module if you're running a pre-written module, or know your adventure if you're running your own adventure. If you're writing out descriptions like this, you don't want to just sit there and rattle them off. You want to pick and choose what you're going to talk about, and you want to look your players in the eye when you're talking to them. You want to add weight to your words. As a dungeon master, you have to realize, I'm the dungeon master. My word is law. I'm running this game. I'm creating this world in front of the player's eyes. I should have some self-respect here, you know? Give some weight to your words. Realize that the players are listening to you. They're hanging on your every word. And, you know, instead of describing a room like that, look your players in the eye and give them sensory input. What does the room smell like? What does it feel like? Is the air really clammy and thick, or is it crisp and clean? Is there moisture in the room? Does it feel really stuffy in here? You know, what does the floor feel like? Is it solid, or does it feel like it's kind of crumbling beneath them? And as a DM, you can really get into it. You can kind of lean forward, you know, and you can say things like, this next room you enter, the door creaks on its hinges. These hinges haven't been used for maybe decades, maybe even centuries, and the door kind of lilts open and the wood scrapes along the stone floor as you enter, and immediately your senses are assaulted by this moldy, mildewy, kind of rotting stench that just fills your nostrils and makes your eyes water. And it's pretty clear immediately what's giving off this stench. In the center of the room is the rotting corpse of a large deer with its antlers kind of cresting the top of this otherwise indiscernible mass of rotting flesh. And you can see large teeth marks and claw marks raking the flesh of this thing. Something large, something with big teeth, dragged this deer into the room and was feasting on it maybe just a few days ago. Now your players are completely engaged. They have lots to go on here. They know what they see. They know what the air smells like, and they've got something to focus on in the room. If you're going to sit there and rattle off a bunch of details from a book, they're not going to remember all that, and they're not going to know what to focus on. The second tip I can give you is learn how to improv. This is really something that, you know, some people are good at, some people aren't so good at, but it is something that has to be learned. It's something that needs to be developed. You have to actively try to improve your improving skills. And a tip that I can give you here is don't try to prep everything. A lot of new DMs will try to prep for every single circumstance that's going to come along. They'll try to prep, every single item, every single creature, every single room, every single possible encounter, every single possible pathway that the PCs take. Instead of doing that, take time to find tools that are going to help you improv during the game, whether they be random roll charts or word clouds or anything. I have this thing called Rory's Story Cubes, and they're these really cool dice that just have these images on them. And whenever I'm sitting behind the screen and I kind of get stumped and I feel like my creative juices are tapped out, I grab a handful of these dice and I roll them, and just looking at those images will start firing off those little creative hooks in my head, and I'm able to sort of power through, whatever mental block I'm coming up against. Or roll tables are great. I use roll tables a lot. If somebody starts looking through the room and I realize I don't have any items prepared for this room, it's easy enough to say that the room is totally empty, but that's kind of boring. Find a roll chart that's, random room items and roll, and you see, there's a broken oil lamp in one corner, kind of a pile of dirty, moldy straw in the other, and along one wall there's a bunch of niches cut into the wall, and there's different monstrous skulls set into each of these little niches. So that kind of gives the room a little bit more personality, even if it's not, there's a magical sword and a potion. Rooms would have mundane items in them. So, kind of think about that, using random roll tables for that kind of thing. And every session trying to prep a little bit less and improv a little bit more. Now, granted, there are certain sessions that require a little bit more prep than others, but the best advice I can give you is don't try to prep for everything. A lot of new DMs fall into this trap of just hours and hours and hours of prep, and it doesn't have to be like that. If you take some of those hours and devote them to improving as an improv DM, it's gonna pay its dividends real quick. The third tip I can give you is focus on people. The best stories, the best plots are character driven, and new DMs kind of get into this mode where they feel that their plot, their story is the most important. So they craft this really intricate web of characters and intrigue and deception and lies and plot twists, when in reality, those things will happen naturally if you populate your world with rich, nuanced characters who have realistic motivations and backgrounds that drive them towards their goals. So whenever you come up with an NPC, think about what their goal is. This is storytelling 101. Every single character, everything they say, they're trying to get something. Now, that something might be completely noble. They might be trying to heal somebody. They might be trying to get money for a charity. They might be trying to save the world. Or they might be trying to, do something a little bit more nefarious than that. But think about your character's motivations and how that's going to drive the plot. The plot doesn't just happen. It's not a river with characters floating in it. That's not how it should be. The characters should be driving the plot. And not just the non-player characters, but your party as well, your player characters. If you're having trouble coming up with an arc for your campaign, so to speak, ask your players about their characters and what their characters want. Maybe some of their goals will play into your plot, and they should. So focus on people, not plot. The fourth tip I can give you is don't be afraid to make the game your own. A lot of people are hesitant to do house rules and stuff like that, but you have to make the rules work for you and your game, not the other way around. If your players wants to do something that isn't necessarily illustrated in the rules, and you're sitting there looking through the book and you can't find anything on it, and you say, I'm sorry, you can't do that, no, that's bad. Come up with a way for your player to do that. Maybe it's just an attribute roll. Maybe it's a couple of attribute rolls. Maybe you just want them to describe what they're doing so you can get a better handle on it and how you're going to do it mechanically. Don't let the rules control your game. You should be using the rules as a tool. The rules are always there for you. It should not be the other way around. So as a DM, don't be afraid to make calls that aren't necessarily listed in the rules. And don't be afraid to add your own stuff into it as well. House rules are great, you know, as long as you are clear about what the house rules are and how your version of, you know, Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder differs from the generic. Something that I do in my games that I've talked about a lot is the fate chip system. And what this is whenever a player does something cool, whenever they do something that's in line with their character's background and goals, whenever they think strategically or creatively, I'll hand them a poker chip, and they can turn in that poker chip to roll with advantage on any roll of a d20 that they want. The fifth and final tip I can give you is kind of along the same lines as the improv thing, but it's start small. A lot of people get into D&D and they decide they want to build Middle-earth or they want to build Westeros. And the fact of the matter is that those things don't just happen. You don't, you know, work for a weekend and come up with a world. The world needs to be built organically. So let's say you're starting a D&D or a Pathfinder or something, a medieval fantasy role-playing game campaign. Start with one city, one village, one dungeon. So let's take the city, for example. You start with a city. You build up the city. You decide who the leadership of the city is. What are their main exports and imports? What's the geography around the city? Are there rivers, mountains? Is it hugging a forest? Is it in the desert? Is it in the mountains? What's the climate like? Who are the people? What's the race distribution? Is it mostly human? Is it a dwarven city? Elven? Stuff like that. From there, fill the city with NPCs that you think are interesting, maybe 4 or 5 starting out, each with a goal, a motivation, and a plot hook to go along with them. Some sort of quest for your PCs to go on. Then put 2 or 3 dungeons near the city and start thinking about what other cities are near this city. Now all of a sudden you've got a little region built for your world with a city, maybe some villages and some dungeons, lots of NPCs and plot hooks for your PCs to follow. From there, your PCs will branch out and go where they want to go, and the world will grow organically around them because you'll know where the PCs are going and you'll build the world where they are going. So don't think too big starting out, especially starting out when you're doing world building and campaign creating. Start small and work out from there. Most stories, most worlds begin with one character or one, you know, idea, one kind of little creative nugget that you then expand on from there. It really is. It's like a seed that's going to grow, you know, and you got to give it time and you got to give it, you know, water and sun and all of that. So make sure that you don't overthink it and don't overdo it, because if you're going to build an entire campaign world and then put your PCs in it, chances are they're not going to go where you think they're going to go, and you're going to be scrambling anyway. So start out small and build up from there. So that's just kind of 5 simple tips for a new DM who's just kind of starting out. I know there's a lot of you out there with the new edition of Dungeons & Dragons just coming out, and I've been getting a lot of requests for a video like this, but again, guys, I hope you like the new setup here, the new lighting and equipment and stuff. I'm hopefully going to be cranking out a lot more videos. I'm going to continue campaign crafting as well as Monster Matters. And I'm also going to be doing some collaboration videos with some people in my game group, including a one-on-one video with my fiance and I. We play Dungeons & Dragons together. And I've kind of come up with the notion of a D&D roundtable where me and my game group get together and put a topic on the table related to RPGs and just kind of talk about it for, you know, half hour, an hour or so. So anyway, guys, that's going to be it from me. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care. Happy gaming all.